I think we're live. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yes, there we are. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rosemary's Kitchen. It is November the 7th, 2021. My friend Kay has a birthday. I do believe it's today. I'm not sure if she's listening or not, but if she is, happy birthday to you and all the rest of it. And I shall be calling you later to wish you a proper happy birthday. Now, I know that it's Sunday. Some of you might be thinking, what am I doing on a Sunday? We don't do Sunday shows, do we? Except every now and again when somebody requests that I make something. Now, the last Sunday show we did was, 2 weeks ago, I think? And here we are again. So before we begin, my kitchen is full this morning. Can you see anyone? Can you see anyone around? I've got Gregor, who is standing to my right side, who I'm saying good morning to here. You know he's always around me. To my left is my daddy. In front of me is my brother, and I'm not quite sure. Oh, hello, yeah. And I've got a few people here. So as we go along with the show, I'll mention one or two others who are perhaps joining us, because after all, it's Rosemary in the kitchen. And today we're going to make an apple crumble. Please do not mix it up with an apple crisp. Apple crisp is something that people in America make. It's if we have time later, I'll tell you my disastrous story about the first and only time I ever made an apple crisp. But I'm going to show you the British way today to make an apple crumble, which is absolutely delicious, and it's really simple and easy. First of all, I'm going to show you this bowl sitting in front of me. I'd like to say good morning. Sorry, Chris, I almost forgot you. Good morning, Chris.
I'm just that little thing in the background.
Well, little thing in the background. Good morning to you in Vermont, right?
Yes.
And I understand you're getting ready for a trip to Texas soon. You're going to spend Thanksgiving with your sister.
Yeah, both Thanksgiving and my birthday.
So maybe, just maybe then, you can take this recipe with you to make when you go to your sister's house. So here we are. It is getting towards the end of apple picking season, but people should have stored their apples, got lots of apples. So for this recipe, okay, we're diving in, because we have to get this made really fast in the oven so I can bring it out and show you what it actually looks like when it's cooked. Right, so, okay, for this recipe I used 4 large apples that are good for cooking. What I did was this morning before the show, I peeled and cored the apples and I chopped them into little pieces. I'll show you in a minute just how little pieces are. And the way to store apples, because you know, if you leave them out to the air, they go brown very, very quickly. So I put my apples in. They're a little bit brown where I did the coring, but mostly they're lovely and crispy. Icy cold water and lemon juice in the water, and swizz it around, and it does stop the apples from going brown. We're going to put them to the side, and in a few minutes we're going to drain them. And I'm going to show you what to do with them. So you need those apples. You need 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces of soft brown sugar. And you also then, for the pastry, not really a pastry, for the crumble, I should say, 8 ounces of all-purpose or plain flour, 2 ounces of white sugar. Oh, you also need some lemon juice. And you also need, if you choose, I'm using ground allspice because I don't care about cinnamon, but you can use cinnamon, you can use whatever you like, but I use allspice. And so, I think, is that it? That's it. Look, how simple is that? That's all we need. So let me just put these apples to the side because I want to get on and, there we go. I want to get on and make the pastry. Right, so here is my flour. Little tiny bit of salt in the flour, and I'm going to get my butter out of the refrigerator. Okay, 8 ounces, here we go, 8 ounces of butter. And you can see, I don't know how well you can see, but look, sorry, did I say 8 ounces of butter? 4 ounces of butter. Chopped into little cubes, nice and cold. And we're going to throw these in the flour. But before I do that, I am going to take my ring off because, well, I don't want to get all stuff clagged in. So I'm going to just throw all this butter. This is the part I don't like. Now, you can do this in a machine if you like, but when we're making pastry, we want to make the pastry sort of into fine breadcrumbs. So we sort of, get the butter and the flour and everything, and we rub it in. Lots of people still do it with their fingers, but a lot of people, as do I, very often will use my machine. But when we're making a crumble, or we want a pastry that's sort of a little bit even short crust pastry that is really sort of flaky short crust pastry, the idea of using a machine and getting those fine breadcrumbs means that you're not going to get the butter popping like it should in the flour. So I don't know if you can see. Can you see what I'm doing, Chris?
Yes, perfectly.
I'm getting the flour and I'm using my fingertips and I'm rubbing like this, and I'm rubbing the butter and the flour in together. And I want to make a sort of a breadcrumby mix, but like a big breadcrumb mix, because I want the crumble to really sort of pop as much as it can. And I want the butter in sort of slightly bigger pieces than you would if you were making regular pastry. I want the butter to sort of pop into the flour and give that nice crumbly, which is after all what it is called, isn't it? Give that nice crumbly feel to the topping of the apples. I have to tell you, I don't mind doing this. This is fine, but I have a thing. I don't know if any of you with long nails have a thing, but whenever I'm making pastry or dough or bread dough and I'm kneading and I'm getting stuff in my fingers, I love to do it. I love to get in there and do it. I don't know if you can see, but it's getting a bit more crummy, which is good. But I get this thing about getting stuff in my nails, and it really, sometimes it makes it hard for me to breathe. Isn't that a weird thing to say to you all? It's really odd. I get this can't breathe sort of thing, almost as if I feel like I'm sort of suffocating a little bit. So as soon as I've done this and I feel it's ready, and I'm fine doing this bit, but when I pull my hands out, I've got to get that stuff out of my nails. If any of you have any little phobias as you're cooking, let us know. Tell Chris, because we're going to go to, as I'm doing this and as I'm sort of doing this crumbly thing, and it is coming nice and crumbly now. It's really coming. It's really doing really, really well now. Anyway, as we're doing this, Chris, how about you take over while I just play with this a little bit longer?
Absolutely. Judith is saying Georgia had a late spring freeze and the apple harvest was dismal, almost none. So she's pretty sad she doesn't have your apples.
Oh well, in England, well, I think in most countries actually, I'm sure in Vermont you do the same thing. There are so many apples on the trees, and they, we sort of, in the old kitchens, we used to store our apples in the cellar where it was nice and cold. Do you store your apples, Chris? Do you know of anybody who used to store their apples?
When I was growing up, we had an apple tree in the front yard, and my mother would make it with my grandmother would make applesauce.
Right.
That's what we used most of our apples for, and that was stored in the cellar.
Yeah. Or you can do, sort of sliced apples in jars, and people used to pickle them, didn't they? Or they'd put them in like a sugar water or something, sort of keep them, to keep them fresh. I mean, we had to do those things because, years and years ago, in my day, we did have freezers. I'm not that old, but sort of in Victorian times and years gone by, you know, the only way to make sure you stored things was to very often to use the cellars that people had. Okay, we've now got a fantastic, I don't know if you, can you see that, Chris?
Yeah.
It's a real nice crumble with some little bits here and there of little bit bigger sort of, yeah, it's perfect actually. See how, if you have the butter really, really cold, you chop it up in little pieces and have it really icy cold out of the fridge, it crumbles so much easier, it's so much quicker. Now, Chris, keep everybody entertained. I have got to scrub my nails. It'll take me 2 seconds. I'll be back.
Well, you can listen to some of the comments. So Maggie was saying, I was taught to use knives in a crosswise motion to cut the butter. And then Julie's asking about this recipe. She's noticing it has no oats. She has never made it with just flour, so she's interested to see how it goes.
You know, that was all lovely, but I had the water running.
You didn't hear any of it?
No.
Okay. Maggie says she was taught to use knives in a crosswise motion to cut the butter.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just get mine really nice and cold. I weigh it out and I cut it into little tiny pieces and keep it in the refrigerator till I need it, but icy, icy cold. So there is my, that's that. I have to disappear again, but I can hear you, Chris. Carry on. Do we have
All right. All right. Julie noticed that your recipe is not working with oats, but with flour, so she's very interested in seeing how it turns out.
Oh, oats. Oats instead of flour?
Yeah, the recipe she knows uses oats.
For a crumble? That's surprising to me, but hey, well, maybe you could send us your recipe. We'd like to know what that's all about, wouldn't we?
And then Dean joined you just as you were singing happy birthday. So
Who
he's
did?
wondering, Dean, so he's wondering which Kay's birthday it is.
Oh, it's my friend Kay, not the Hong Kong Kay, but the other Kay. Right, okay, let's get down to this a minute here, because otherwise I should forget what I'm doing. Right, into my fabulous breadcrumby flour, which took much, it was much faster than I did it. So we've got 8 ounces of flour, 4 ounces of very, very cold butter, which is just a spoon, very, very cold butter, which you make with your fingers, rubbing fingertips together in there. Now, so far we're making pastry, aren't we? Except we're not making the crumbs as fine as we would in a pastry. 2 ounces of white sugar in there, and you're going to stir it all together. I'm going to mix the sugar into that lovely, lovely floury mixture, sort of, well, breadcrumby mixture. This is looking so good. Just a little tip for those of you who are wondering, I'm sure some of you are wondering which kind of butter I'm using. I always use, or try to use, Irish butter, because Irish butter has more of a fat content and less liquid. So you get a richer, more buttery flavour. Leave it to the Irish to do that for us. Now, here are my apples. I'm going to get my dish. Okay, I've buttered it really, 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 really well. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see it's all shiny and buttery?
Yes.
In there. You want it to be fairly deep, your casserole dish. And then I'm going to sort of put the apples in the bottom there. I don't know how well you can see that, Chris.
Oh, we can see most of it.
So it's halfway, the apples fill halfway up the thing there, like that. Move these out of the way. Okay, now into that goes, I've got here about 2 ounces of lemon juice. So I'm going to just, drizzle that over the top of the apples. That's going to give us a nice sort of tartish, wonderful flavour. I might as well use tourmaline. Why not? Why not indeed? And now, here we have soft brown sugar. As I've said, if you like it sweeter, use 2 ounces. If you don't like it quite as sweet, use 1.5 ounces. And there we are. Right, I'm using allspice. You can use anything you like. You also, if you feel like it, you can put raisins in here. You could put dried cherries, or you can put anything in there if you want, whatever you want in there. This won't go in here. So let's see what a mess I can make.
Carolyn's asking if she adds blueberries, can she use frozen? And if so, when would they add blueberries to not mush them?
Yeah, you can add blueberries. You know, look, you know, I'm a great believer in experimenting. I'm going to put about 1/2 teaspoon of ground allspice. I'm mixing it into the sugar. The reason I'm not sprinkling it all over the apples is because if I mix it into the sugar, I make sure that I'm going to give this a really good stir around and mix the allspice well in with the sugar, so that I'm going to use my fingers here. Oh, nice. So mixing it all into the sugar means that you sort of get a more even flavour all the way around. And then I'm just going to, again, using my, can you see what I'm doing, Chris? Tell me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Tell me if I need to, and I'm just going to sprinkle it. This is looking, it's already looking yummy. Now, if I put this in the oven and baked it for about 15 to 20 minutes, just this would make a really nice dessert. I love baked apples, I really do. And I don't know, let me just pull this out. My apples, I cut them to roughly that size. You can cut them a little bit bigger if you want, but I cut them because I like my apples to be, I don't like them to be mushy. I like them to be nice and soft and cooked through, but sort of have almost a slight crunchy taste to them. I'm going to tip that in there like that. There we are, look at that, fabulous. Can you believe we've been going for less than 20 minutes, just wash my hands, and it's almost ready. Of course, it does help if you've got everything prepared, weighed out, measured, and so on. Now, there we are. Can you see that?
Looks
Simple,
beautiful.
easy, apple, lemon juice, brown sugar, and a little allspice. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to spoon it over the top, evenly over, so all the apples are covered. And I'm hoping there's going to be enough here that it's going to sort of give it a nice, not too thick, but fairly thick coating over the apples. I'm going to try, if I can, to cover the apples as much as I can. There.
Julie's asking a question. The apples are uncooked at this stage?
They are uncooked, my darlings, which is why, you know, if you do them nice and small, you're absolutely sure to get them cooked. There we go. And I'm covering them as much as I can. However, you know, don't worry if the apple seeps through. We're not on a TV show. We're not trying to impress anybody here. Oh, wait a minute. Are we on a TV show? Anyway, you want the crumble to cover and to coat, and then slightly tamping down with your spoon. There we go, pressing it down. I'm so keen to get this in the oven. I'm just going to take a fork and just with the back of the fork, just press down, because it gives sort of almost like a nice pattern. The apples probably will bubble through, but that's all right, I don't care. So we've got the dishes not quite, as you can see, to the top. This is a perfect size dish. You're going to ask me what size dish, aren't you? And I don't actually know. I'm going to put this on a baking tray. You can see what size it is. Just work it out for yourselves. And my oven has preheated. So let's do this.
Linda wants to know what type of apples you prefer to use.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me get my timer set. Let me see. I'm going to put it on for 30 minutes. So it's in the oven for 30 minutes. So hopefully it should be all done before the show. So now while that's cooking, what kind of apples? Well, if you're in the UK, then you just go to the store and get cooking apples, because that's what we do. If you're in the States, in Florida or New York, they have apples. So you're going to have to ask your grocery guy, what are the best apples for cooking? I can't tell you because I'm British. We just have cooking apples, and we have names for our cooking apples, but some apples are much better for cooking than others. These apples, I don't know if you joined me 2 weeks ago when we did baked apples. These are the same apples. I think they might be something like a golden crisp or something like that. But I went and asked the guy at the grocery store, which are the best apples for cooking? And he suggested these, and they do seem to hold up, because some apples, if you get sort of very sweet apples or very juicy apples, they'll go to mush in the oven. They'll just go down to mush, and I prefer to have a nice crispy apple. So we're going to see how that goes. Now,
wait 1 second.
What are we going to do?
1 second, Rosemary.
Pardon?
The important question to be answered, what did you put the oven temperature to?
So I put it in the oven at 375 Fahrenheit, the middle shelf, and I'm just going to leave it there, and the pastry, the crumble will cook and harden a little bit. It should have a nice crust to it. If you wanted to have a thicker crust on it, by all means, just do another 2 ounces of flour and another ounce of butter, and you get a little bit more of that. So, or you put less apples in and more pastry, whichever way you want to do it. Let me just remind you, because I know many of you know that I've got my own cookbook, and here it is, and you can get it available on Lulu. And in fact, if anybody wants to know where you get it from, this recipe is not in here, by the way. But if you want to know where to get it from, just email Chris, K-O-I-S, at what, Chris? At rosemaryated.com. Is that right? Yes.
Yes, it is, but I will also put the link in the chat room.
Okay, and you just go to Lulu, and it'll be on sale in Lulu, or at Lulu, or whatever it is. All right, so now let me just have a little nice sip of my sherry.
Well, speaking of sips of sherries, we had a comment from Dean earlier on. I was waiting for the break. Would my spice I used for the English Christmas cake in the past work for this? I still have a ton of it left.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I do think you'll find that it's actually allspice. So yes, it will work for this, Dean. And here's cheers to everybody, and cheers to my friend Kay for her birthday. Happy birthday. Right. While we're waiting for the apple crisp, I thought I'd show you how to make pita chips. Easy, simple. All you need is, these are, what do they say? Classic white pita chips. But some pita bread is easier to split than others. So this name, Toufayan. These are the ones that I use because they're very easy to split. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. A lot of pita bread, you cannot split it. Or you can get, I think what they call pocket pita bread, which is split. So this is sort of a puffy pita bread. It's quite nice actually. As I'm doing this, Chris, we can sort of, if you just tell me if anybody's got a question or anything. So I'm taking the pita chip like this in my left hand, scissors in my right hand. I'm going to stick the end of the scissors, being careful not to pierce the outsides, and I'm just going to cut around the pita bread. Chris, can you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
I'm going to cut around the pita bread like this. Ooh. And it's really easy because these are sort of the puffy ones. But I've actually bought other pita bread where this does not work. So just watch, everybody, what you're doing when you're buying your pita bread. There. And then you split it all the way around, and lo and behold, da-da-da-da, there. So you do that with these three. As I'm doing this, you do need a pair of scissors with a sharp pointed blade so that you can actually get in. And again, be careful not to pierce the outside. If you do, just sort of whiz it right back in. As I'm doing this, Chris, anybody want to ask anything? Any comments? Anything we've got going on there?
Maggie says her daughter and she have a long running discussion about oven shelf levels.
Oh,
She says always the middle, and I say middle for baking, low for meats. What are your thoughts?
middle for baking, what? Low for meats?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you exactly what you haven't taken into consideration, Maggie. It depends on your oven. Now, my daughter lives in an apartment in New York, and she has sort of like, it's a weird oven. It's a narrower oven. With her oven, anything you put on the bottom of the oven will cook way faster than anything you put on the top, which is usually the opposite, isn't it? Of of what we know. I disagree with, but it depends on your oven. So if your oven is, somebody said we just asked what number oven do you need your apple crisp on? But if you have an oven that gets hotter than mine, then or it's hotter in the middle or it's hotter on the top, you have to adjust to your own oven. And if you know your own oven, that's what you will do. I'm having trouble getting this. There we are. Just turned it around one little bit. There.
Well,
There
Michael has popped on saying, "Hello everyone, happy birthday to Kay and Rosemary. The apple crisp looks amazing so far."
It's not apple crisp, Michael. It is not apple crisp. I don't know. I've got to educate you Americans. This is a British dish. It is not apple crisp. Now look what I'm doing here. So can you see? I've actually got 6 halves because I've used three, and I've got a baking tray with parchment paper on it there. So I'm using a large baking tray. So if you don't have a large baking tray, don't worry. You can just use 2. Okay, this is now what I'm going to do. I've got my little dish right here. In this little dish, I'm going to put some really good olive oil that came from Italy, from a friend of mine. We're going to put some olive oil in there. Okay, just wing it, just eyeball it. You'll see what I mean in a minute. And where is it? What did I do with it? My garlic salt is somewhere in here. Oh my golly gosh. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, there you are. It disappeared. And I've got some garlic sea salt. So there. This is all you need. So now I am going to use my little brush Tell me if you can't see, Chris.
We can't see the one closest to the camera.
Can you see it if I do this?
Yes.
Right, so I'm brushing olive oil lightly. Don't be too heavy-handed. Coating especially the edges of the pita. And, okay, so that's one. Can you still see me here? Can you see what I'm doing, Chris?
Yes.
I can ask questions. I can answer some questions or listen to some comments or whatever while I'm doing this. I can, walk and chew gum at the same time.
Well, it's funny. Maggie's I've noticed, has always got a great sense of humor. She just wrote, "Sharp scissors are a difficulty for me," my mom said. "If I use my knives or scissors as a defense, it would be blunt force trauma to the burglar."
Oh, okay. I don't think I've ever thought of using my scissors on anyone other than, in this case, food or paper. But hey, Maggie, they could make a good weapon, I suppose, too. Right, keep going, Chris.
So there were comments just a little bit earlier about some people use Macintosh apples, and Judith
Oh,
was thinking your pan appeared to be a 10 by 10.
okay. I'll measure it in a bit. Now, I'm going to put some of this. If you've got something that sprinkles really, if you've got garlic salt that sprinkles really well, that's what you do. So what I'm going to do, I'm sort of sprinkling the garlic salt. So I've covered it in oil and I'm now coating, and you know how much garlic or not that you like. I like a fair amount, but not too crazy. So, okay. If I work on this one, can you see what I'm doing, Chris?
Yes.
So I'm going to cut it in half, like so. 2 halves. Then each half, I'm cutting into 3, making triangles. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and now I'm going to lay them with the oil up, the oil side up. I'm going to lay them in the baking tray.
Now it looks like you have parchment paper down on the baking tray.
I do. Didn't I say that? I thought I said
I
lined
don't
with
remember.
parchment paper. Pardon?
I didn't remember.
Oh, I love parchment paper. I use it all the time for many things. So I'm just, and those of you who can actually, so I'll show you in a minute, I have a method with these. You can actually see that I'm used to making these because I know exactly where to place the pita chips. You can place them fairly close together, but anyway, I've got a method with mine. So keep going. Other comments, questions? What's going on, Chris?
Oh, let's see. Somebody else, NS, had written, "It's definitely not apple crisp. I'm American. And hello from Florida."
It is definitely not apple crisp. Good for you. First time I ever made apple crisp, and the only time I ever made apple crisp. I thought, I've got to try. I heard lots of people talking about how much they loved apple crisp. I am not a big fan, just so you know. But then this is my story about when I made the apple crisp. In England, when I left England, we didn't, probably it's different now, but we didn't then have things like sunflower seeds, you didn't, they weren't in the grocery stores. So this recipe called for orange juice and sunflower seeds and apples and all of that stuff, right? So I followed the recipe that this person had given to me. I invited friends over. One of them was Gary. I don't know if he's watching this morning, but anyway, he'll remember this. And in fact, as soon as he knew I was going to make it, he said, "Does this recipe have sunflower seeds?" Ha ha. Because I did not know, because I'm British and we never got sunflower seeds in our country at that time, I just bought a packet of sunflower seeds and did as the recipe said, and threw them in with everything else. I think they went in with the apples and the orange juice and the sugar and all that. Anyway, and it looked good, smelled good. I'm thinking fine. I cooked it in the oven. My friend Gary came over, another friend of mine came over. We're all sitting there, and we're salivating because there's nothing nicer, is there, than the smell of the apples cooking, right? And we're sort of, just ready to get stuck in. And so never thought any more about it until as I'm eating, I'm finding these really hard bits of something in the apple. I'm thinking, what on earth is that? And then Gary was sort of surreptitiously spitting stuff out, and then my friend was spitting stuff out, and in the end we got all this stuff that we were spitting out. At the same time, they were telling me how good it was, but we all knew that there was something in there that shouldn't be in there. Look, I didn't know that you could get sunflower seeds with the shells on, but you could also get sunflower seeds without the shells on. Well, you know what I'd done, don't you? All my sunflower seeds were with shells on. Who knew? I certainly didn't. And my apple crisp was ruined because I used horrible sunflower seeds with shells on. That was my one and only attempt. The flavour was nice, it was okay, but I much prefer mine. I much prefer this easy, simple and so delicious recipe that I'm showing you today. Little tiny bit more olive oil.
Carolyn's.
Now, see, I started this. This has taken me it's probably taken me about 15 minutes to make these, and they make a nice big pile of chips. Great to have with dips, great to have with whatever you want. I'm just going to finish using up this olive oil. There we go.
Rosemary, Carolyn's saying, oh boy, these pita chips will be a big hit with my college-age son. He may like these as much as the Yorkshire pudding, and I'll let you know. And if I recall correctly, I believe it was Carolyn's son who ate like 7 or 8 of your Yorkshire puddings.
I do remember that. Karen, what we want to know is, did you fill them or did he just eat them on their own? In Yorkshire, they will often have Yorkshire puddings as an appetizer with a little gravy on. They'll often have them as a dessert with a little bit of preserve, strawberry preserve or whatever, or a nice dusting of powdered sugar. They're very, very versatile. Yorkshire puddings are very versatile. My grandson loves them because, they sort of, when they cook, they rise up and they've got a dip in the middle, and he likes to put he loves some ground beef, nice savoury ground beef. So I make that for him with the Yorkshire puddings, and then he likes to spoon. He always has 3. He likes to spoon his meat into 2 of them, and then the third one he likes to save for the last, and he eats it on his own. He's a creature of habit, probably like me. Right, so I'm on the last 3, cutting the last 3. And here we are. So I'm open for more questions, more comments as I cut these up and lay them on the baking sheet.
So Carolyn said that her son used melted butter on the Yorkshire puddings.
Oh, nice. Well, it's a little bit like pancakes then, isn't it? Because Yorkshire pudding is a sort of a pancake mix. It's a nice batter and really delicious. I've never tried them with melted butter. That sounds good. But then I'm a big butter fan, so.
Sandra says, I'm repotting plants today while watching. I have
Who is
dirt
this?
under. This is Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
And I have dirt under my nails. Ugh, I'm the same way about anything under my nails.
I know. I love to do it. I love to get into it, flour or soil or whatever it is that I'm doing. I love to get in there, but I can't. I've got to then immediately get rid of all that stuff. It really makes me sort of feel almost as if I can't breathe. It's a weird thing to have, but I'm sure no weirder than lots of people have different things. So, how are we doing?
Barb wanted to know, she said, I might have missed it, but about how many apples did you use for your recipe?
I used 4 large apples, but remember the dish that I use is not particularly big, so you can make them bigger, or you could make a bigger one or a smaller one. Now, with my baked apples 2 weeks ago, I I I think I ate one during the show, and then just after the show, I ate one of them, like in no time flat. Then I kept the next one, which I ate the next day for dessert. And then I froze 2. I put them in individual containers and I froze them. And oh boy, did they freeze really, really well. And you can actually freeze this. So what you do is you leave it to cool. Of course, you might want to eat it all up. But if it's just me, I should not eat the whole of that apple crisp myself. But what I'm probably going to do is to put things in smaller containers, and then freeze them, and then just bring them out as a nice dessert. So they do freeze really, really well. Hello, here's my friend Mary Lou.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Look at this. So now,
Yummy.
I know. Can you smell?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good smell. So Mary Lou's come for lunch today, and
Thank you very much.
and I'm going to be making smoked salmon with avocado, with a little sprinkle of olive oil and cracked fresh ground black pepper. Okay, that's for lunch. Okay, here are these chips. You can see you get tons of them, right? And these need to be the shelf higher than the middle shelf, depending on your oven, everybody. They cook really fast. So they need to be on 375 degrees. For what I do is I cook them for 5 minutes, then I turn them around, and then I put them back in for another 5 minutes. But I'm watching the whole time, keeping my eyes peeled the whole time. And then I, take them out. Some will be nicely browned and some will be a little bit pale. So I just take them out. I use tongues, and I take them out and put them on paper towel to sort of get any excess oil off of them. And I might put some back in the oven for another minute or 2 minutes. But you have to watch these things because they're so naughty. It's olive oil. It burns fast. So please make sure that you're watching them like a hawk. So at 5 minutes, then another 5 minutes, and then bring them out and take out the ones that are nicely browned, and so on. So just keep watching for that. I am now going to see, these are going in as soon as the apple crisp. I said apple crisp. It is not an apple crisp. You're all confusing me. It's an apple crumble, everybody. Okay, as soon as the apple crumble comes out, these little guys are going in. But I did make some 2 days ago, so I'm going to bring those out and show you what they're like, at which point we'll take a few more questions and comments. That apple crisp is... Did you hear that, Chris?
I did, and I was going to let you slide, but they won't here in the chat room. I know it.
This is a nightmare. This apple crumble. I've never called apple crumble apple crisp. I don't know what's happening to me. This apple crumble. Can you smell it? Oh, right? Can you really smell it? It smells so good.
My timing was perfect.
All right. So I'm putting these in as soon as the apple crumble comes out. There, got it right that time. So let's put these over here. Gonna wash I gotta wash my hands. There we go. Okay. Oh, right. More questions, Chris?
So Judith says she uses a handy little thermometer on each shelf to let her know what the temperature is because her oven thermostat is not reliable.
Oh, good. That's a good idea.
And then Julie says, that's exactly what I'm doing, putting the apple crumble into ramekins in the freezer, really nurturing making this after her booster jab yesterday.
Oh, good. And you know when you bring them out and you pour over some really nice, thick, heavy cream, or a little bit of ice cream, or some nice, some really nice custard, English custard over them, you're going to absolutely love this. Look how easy it was. It took me 20 minutes to get it all together, and that's with talking as well. If I weren't talking, I would probably have done it in 15. And then on top of that, the smell is so good. You know, it's only takes 25-30 minutes in the oven. I am going to just open my oven, just have a little peek to make sure it's not too brown on the top. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? Let's see. Yeah. Now you want it to be pale, but cooked through. So it's not going to get it shouldn't be getting terribly brown. Right, what am I doing? Oh yes, let's see. All right, so do you like my little foil packet, everybody? I make these foil packets for my pita chips just by folding foil. In fact, I'll show you, because we're still waiting for the apple crisp. This is a great packet. I just use regular foil. Can you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
Here they come. I know who's going to have one of these. Do you want one? Of course. Now, just to show you, see, that one's a little bit pale, but that's it, still crispy. Don't get them any browner than that. Oh, let me, yeah.
Ooh, we can hear the crispiness to it.
Don't get them any browner than that. Help yourself.
Thank you.
Go ahead. You have to say yummy or not.
Yummy.
You can taste the garlic salt on them. They're really
Just remember,
delicious.
no lunch, Mary Lou, if you say not yummy.
Really good, aren't they?
Very good.
Okay. While we're waiting, field the questions, Chris.
Judith says, my mother was a nurse. I grew up washing my hands very frequently. I am accustomed to very frequent hand washing, but not neurotic hand washing.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Well,
Okay,
you had asked people early on what their, fear or
what their little phobias
squeamish, kind of things
Yeah.
was. Maggie says she does not like touching raw chicken.
No. Do any of us? But it's so good when it's cooked, right? Keep going, Chris. I'm letting you keep going.
Judith says, I love to cook in foil packs. When I cared for my mother during her Alzheimer's, I cooked many meals in foil packets.
I don't think I've ever cooked in a foil. Well, I've wrapped things in foil and cooked them. Let me just get some foil.
I can remember when I was in Girl Scouts, that's what we did. We cooked a lot of our meals over the campfire in foil packets.
Really?
Yes.
Mary Lou is agreeing with you. So here is how I make my packets. Really.
All right,
You
we
really
won't be
need-
able to see that, Rosemary. It's got to be pulled closer to you.
But you really need a lesson. Okay, I want my packet to be about that big. So I'm going to do that again. Tear it. You need to put the dull side inside. You put the edges together. Can you see this?
Yes.
I mean, I feel as if I'm talking to my grandson now. I don't want to be rude to all of you. I'm sure you all know how to make a full packet, right? So, but what I do, I make sure that the folded end or the creased end is the bottom, so I know which end to open when I'm opening. Now I'm going to just fold the sides twice. So there we are. Oops, once and twice. I don't know if you can see that there. So I'm going to turn it around because I want this nice and sealed, because those pita chips have got to stay fresh. So, and when the pita chips I've just made come out of the oven, my little packet, my little bag, ta-da-ta-da, there, my little bag is ready, all ready for them. Okay, let me sit for a second. I'm going to have, oh, it could be time.
Oh, goody.
It could be time to take the apple crisp out. Let's leave it in for a couple more minutes. Let's have another question, shall we?
Well, Carolyn's comment is, I've never made a foil packet and it's a brilliant idea.
Good. I'm full of them, just so you all know. I'm like this person who has these ideas about all sorts of things, right? Mary?
Definitely. That's why I like to come to you.
I have an innovative mind. Oh, that's all I can say. Keep going, Chris. Another couple.
Well, Rosemary, I think we should let people know about your event on November 11th, the Stories of Warriors.
Oh, yes. Well, November the 11th is what we call in England, we call it Remembrance Day or Remembrance Sunday usually. November 11th is when, I think in America you call it Veterans Day, right, Mary Lou? Or what else? There's another name for it. Veterans Day or Memorial Day?
Well,
No.
Memorial Day's on a different month.
Oh, not Memorial Day. So
Yeah.
Veterans Day then. And you know, my daddy's been here with me in the kitchen, still standing next to me. Grey Eagle's smiling away. Of course, we all know that Grey Eagle's a warrior. So on November the 11th, what we try to do is we try to remember all of those heroes. So many of them are unsung. So many of them are not even recognized. And we want to recognize them. We want to let people know that we remember them. And I always do this. I remember my daddy in the spirit world, and he knows that I'm remembering him for his service and his bravery during the war. My brother also is winking at me as I'm looking at him. He was in the military also. But it's not just the military. A lot of nurses, a lot of doctors go out. You know, Doctors Without Borders go out. There are so many different heroes that we have, many of them not even recognized. And so what we're trying to do is next Thursday, we should be honoring the Veterans Day, the Remembrance Day on Thursday morning with our show, The Spirit World Sees All, but then we're doing something at nighttime. Unfortunately, because we are trying to avoid, we don't want to charge people for this. It's an important day. We're hoping that people will join us to tell us stories about their heroes, whether they are unsung heroes or not, or somebody who's a hero to you, who's done a heroic thing to you that we can remember on this particular day. But in order to make sure that we do not get inundated with people who just want to create havoc on our shows and our websites, because, you know, we do get them from time to time, what we're doing is we are sharing a link. If you want to join us, Chris, do you want to give the details? Because I have a feeling that my apple crumble has to come out. So
Yes,
why don't you share all of the
absolutely.
details and how people can get to join that Thursday night show to tell stories of their heroes and so on, and I'll just get out the apple
So
crumble.
you're going to email the office, Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com. And we're going to send you a link to register for this specific program on Zoom. So you'll pre-register and you'll be in. We can't advertise this on all of our social media because we do not want the Zoom bombers to pop in on a night like this. So it's basically all you have been showing up and been regulars from Rosemary who know about this. All of you who have subscribed to Rosemary's newsletter, and it will be a small special group who attend.
Okay, you done?
I'm done.
Bringing out the apple crumble. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Perfect timing, I think. Oh gosh. Golly, gosh. Okay. Put your nose in there.
Oh, it smells good.
It's good. I don't know how well you can see it, Chris.
Oh, we
Oh.
can see probably 2/3 of the pan.
Stupidly, I just turned the oven off and I've got my, but never mind. I can put it back on again. So, okay, let me see if, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So now, even though it's hot and we can't eat it immediately, we do want to taste it, don't we? While I'm getting this served up, is Mary Lou is hovering. She's got a nose going, right? Anything else? Because we're going to close in a minute. So
Rhonda says she just put her apple crumble in the oven and hopefully it turns out as good as yours.
pardon?
Judith, the whole thing? Did you hear any of it?
No.
Rhonda said, I just put my apple crumble in the oven. Hopefully it turns out as good as yours, Rosemary. Judith says it's beautiful. Cheryl's saying, mmm.
Well, good. We're going to take just a little bit. It is, you can see that the apples are cooked. The pastry is delicious. The crumble is delicious on the, oh, look, some juice in there. Would you like that? Would you like that? Do you want that one?
Absolutely, please.
It's boiling hot though.
I'll wait a few minutes.
Oh, you need a big scoop of vanilla ice cream or whipped cream on that.
Well, you know, I am going to, that's mine. But can you see, I don't know if you can see, Chris, but the apples are cooked through, but they still retain their shape. Here's one little apple peeking out. Can you see that? If it weren't boiling hot, that would be in
Oh
my
yeah,
mouth.
we can even see the steam coming up off of it.
Yeah,
It looks great.
But can you see that the apple has kept its shape?
Yes.
So that's what you want. You want an apple that doesn't turn to mush. And then I'm going to put these into little containers, sort of, you know, serving size, and probably freeze them, put them in the freezer. So let me see. Oh, look at this. Look what I've got in, look what I've got in my fridge. Nice, thick, heavy whipping cream. Let me put this, I'm going to put this over there, out of the way. Just for now. So I'm going to say that, of course, we've only got little tiny portions here. We can come back for more. But that probably is a good dessert for maybe 6 to 8 people, would you say?
Definitely.
I don't, do you want cream on yours?
No, thank you.
No, all the more for me. I'm going to smother this in some cream. Can you see it, Chris?
Yeah, keep it held up. Yep.
And now, even though it's hot, the cream will cool it down. Let's have a little taste. Yummy. They're really good.
Well, that seems like a nice dessert for the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday too.
It's a perfect dessert. If anything at all, I probably would have made a thicker crumble on the top. It's so delicious. Oh, good. Really good.
Cheryl saying, "Oh my God, I can taste it."
And Mary Lou's coming in. Yours is hard. You'll be hotter than mine because I've got the cream on mine.
Okay.
This is a reminder. Sevens Bank.
I don't even know what that means. Oh, so any more comments or questions, Chris?
This
Well-
is a reminder. Sevens Bank.
It's funny that the ALEXA is going off because somebody had made a comment earlier. Do you remember a show or two ago where the perfect timing when it went off and said something pretty much appropriate to what we were discussing, and here it goes off again.
I know. Any questions? I'm finishing mine. Just let me tell you.
No, everybody's just saying awesome, yum.
Delicious.
Mary Lou, do we have a comment?
Really
Very good, right? The perfect
delicious.
balance of sweet and tart. Because remember, we got lemon juice in the bottom of those apples. So let me run through it again. 8 ounces of flour, 4 ounces of butter, chopped very small and very cold. A little tiny bit of salt, or not, in your flour. You mix it all up with your fingertips, making a nice sort of heavy breadcrumby thing. And then you add 2 ounces of sugar into the whole mix. You do your apples. No, they are not cooked before they are put in there, but they're cut small. So they'll cook and they'll be nice and soft, but they'll retain their shape, which is really nice, and give you just that very, very mild, slight crunch. Over that, you pour lemon juice, 1.5 to 2 ounces of brown sugar, depending on how sweet you like it. Add in the ground mixed spice into the brown sugar so you get it nice and even all over. Absolutely delicious. Bake it in the oven on 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 25-30 minutes. Delish. Lovely, lovely. Yes.
That's a good question. What kind of apples did you use?
Oh, we've already covered that.
I'm sorry, I was late.
I said go to your supermarket for your apples and ask somebody who knows. Don't ask the little girl or little boy who are there just to stock the shelves. Make sure you talk to the person who knows about his fruits and vegetables and ask them which are the best apples to cook. In England, we have cooking apples. In America, where I've been and where I've lived in America, we do not. Nobody puts in these are cooking apples and these are eating apples. They just put apples, and you've got to figure it out for yourself. Always ask your friendly grocery store guy. All right, I think that's it. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for doing this for us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We do hope that you're going to, for those of you who made it along with me, and those who are going to make it after me, we do hope that you enjoy my apple crumble. Yes, real British apple crumble. We do hope that you're going to really love it, as I do. We shall be back on Thursday, yes, for our Remembrance Day Thursday morning show, The Spirit World Sees All. We shall be probably in and out also doing our off the cuff. Don't forget to sign up for our Thursday evening where we're going to be telling stories. I'm going to be telling you a story about my daddy and his heroics as a soldier and not as a soldier. Yes, can you imagine that? And I'll be so looking forward to hearing you tell your stories. If you want to sort of share a story with us, by all means email it to Chris, K-R-I-S, at rosemaryaltea.com. Chris can sort out all of the different stories. If you'd like to tell it on air, you can. If you'd like us to read it for you, you can do it however you want. Or you can just tell it in the chat room to us. But we're going to be just having a really, really nice Thursday evening, all of us cozying around the fire and telling our heroes' stories. Thank you again for joining Rosemary's Kitchen. If you want the recipe again, you'll find it on Facebook. Or again, anything else you need to know, please email Chris. So please, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Greg particularly, and to my daddy, my brother, and everybody else who's here. What else am I going to say? That's it, I think. please, please, please have a very blessed rest of the day and have a very blessed rest of the weekend, everybody. I hope you all remember to put your clocks back, by the way. Anyway, I shall see you the next time I see you. In the meantime, thank you for joining us again. Bye-bye.